In this video, I'm going to show you a template that I use in Notion that helps me prepare and plan for an upcoming sermon and not forget about any important steps along the way. Let's dive in. Hi, my name is Chris Wilson. I'm a Christian in Krakow, Poland, and this is the second of my series of videos looking at using Notions to help plan sermons and deliver sermons. In the last one, I looked at tracking upcoming sermons, making note of the dates when they're coming and when they're going to arrive. And in this one, I'm going to look at the specific steps of preparing and planning and using a template in Notion to make sure no steps are forgotten, that you go through all the important parts. Now, for me, this is very important because I've only just started doing some preaching at our church. And so it's easy to forget certain parts. It's easy to not necessarily know everything that I need to do. Having a template means that I won't forget about important steps to do. And it also helps focus my mind on the sort of things that I need to be thinking about while I'm preparing. So I've got my Notion database open here, and I'm just going to open a new sermon that I have here that I've prepared. And as you can see, it's completely empty. It's just got a title, new sermon, some of the fields here which are empty, and then I can select a template at the bottom there. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is add it to the area of church, because that's where it belongs in my system. I have this as a linked database, which you saw in the last one, and so I connect it there. Now, if you want to create your own template, you would click the button here that says New Template, but I've already prepared one, and so I'm just going to show you through my own one. So now that I've clicked on the template and it's loaded up, I've got some steps here, and I've got a process, then I have some questions to help focus my mind, and then I have sermon outline, and finally notes and resources. So these are created using header blocks and then a to-do block. And so by creating a to-do block, I can have these things here which I can tick off as I go along. So the first step I've got here is pray, ask God to speak to you and the church, me that is here. So for my upcoming sermon, I've done that. I can then tick so that I know that I've gone through that step. Then read through the passage and look for the main themes and the main message. Again, I've done that for my upcoming sermon, so I can tick that off. Consult commentaries and resources. So I don't specifically say what here. At this point, when I'm actually preparing, I may reference the specific commentary, add in some extra detail. But having the template just reminds me that I need to look at these things here. And then I've got prep sermon and discuss any controversial issues with the pastor. So I've just left it as pastor because I don't know who your pastor, your vicar, or whoever's in charge is. Then I've got some directing questions. What is the central point or main theme of the text? So I try and read through it, find out what is the central message, what is the overarching message of this section of text that it's saying. What's the message from a narrative, or what is the epistle saying? Then what is it that you want those listening to understand? So this should be probably related, but it changes from being what the text is and we're moving into application now, and the cultural, like how it applies to our situation. What is one thing that you want them to change? So this would be very much the direct application that should come out of it. And then for the sermon outline, I have some bullet points here. So I always want to start off with hook, something to grab attention. And preferably I want to do something where I open a loop, as people say. So that's where you start something, but you don't necessarily completely finish it. So it then catches people's attention more because they're interested, what was the end? So I can give you an example. In the last sermon that I preached, we were looking at Psalm 46, And so I gave a story about when I was at school, and we had this activity with placing a castle on a map. Like, where was the best place to place the castle? And so I set it up with like this little picture and said, where would you, if we'd read this text, we would have known the best place to put the castle, but actually we got it completely wrong. And so then right at the end of the sermon, I came back and I was like, well, based on everything we've read, here's the mistake we made, and this is how it applies to us, and how it can apply to us, and this is what we should have done instead. So that's what I really ideally want to do. Then, basically, I'm always going to read the passage out in full that we're looking at. The main part of the sermon, so this is kind of expository teaching, going through each part, highlighting important words, important points, a conclusion summary, and finally a prayer at the end. Now, at this point with the outline, I will just be doing bullet points, and usually I actually do these bullet points down below, and I will keep them separate, but then I'll bring them back into the main section here. And so what I'll do, when I've got my idea for the hook, I'll just do a quick enter at the end of the line and then indent using tab. So then I have some hierarchy that I can see where it belongs within that outline. And then preferably, once I've got the outline prepared, I'm going to then send that over to my pastor and go, hey, look at this. Are all these things right? Is there anything controversial, anything you would add, or something like that? Get his feedback and maybe correction there. And after that, then I'm going to try and outline things in full, try and write out sections so I'm really prepared, speak through what I'm going to say. Notes and resources. Again, while I'm preparing, while I'm doing research, I'll just be chucking things in here. So when I'm looking through a commentary, I'll just put down a note about something that I've read, like, this Hebrew word means this, and it's similar to this one or different from that one. So this is my first draft of an outline, still kind of basic, there's nothing too fancy about it, but it really helps remind me of some important parts to do and focuses my attention with planning and preparing. I'd love to know if you have a different outline, if there are other elements that you think are really important to include, and maybe I'll adapt and improve my sermon outline as well. So if you've enjoyed this video and if you want to catch the next part where I'm going to look at how I use Notion for my own private studies and academic studies, then I'd love it if you took time to subscribe, hit the bell thing to get notified as well, and give the video a thumbs up. It helps me know that you're enjoying it and it helps me know what I should make more of. So thanks once again for watching.